What is your name and the title of your project?
Hi, my name is Norah Swenson, and my project is titled Pollen Load Analysis of Native Bees to Determine Spring Pollen Resource Use. I've always liked bees and been really interested in, just how they live and diversity of bees and just kind of watching them. So I took a special topics class as a sophomore. It was actually a bird banding class that I was lucky to get into and really excited about taking. And I remember, kind of classic, I was probably not paying attention to the bird banding part as much. It was a bit of a lull because we were misnetting birds to band them. And I was just sitting on the ground somewhere, playing with a caterpillar. and Dr. Wolf noticed that, you're interested in insects, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I am. She was like, I'm going to have to get you involved in my bee lab and with what I'm doing. So the spark that was like, this is what I want to pursue, was I got an internship with the DNR working on Bumble Bee Brigade. And it was just something that I really enjoyed waking up and doing every morning. And I just thought it was really interesting. So Bumble Bee Brigade, in and of itself, is a citizen-based monitoring project where people in the community can sign up to have an account. It's an online picture submitting site, basically, where you take pictures of bumblebees and then you submit those pictures with maybe your idea of what kind of bumblebee it might be, and then the DNR will ID that bee. And it's kind of just like a way of gathering data about bumblebees from all over the state, because it can be really difficult to get everywhere. But that's a great way citizen-based monitoring can help, is that people are everywhere and willing to get their hands on. Yeah, so pollen slides and making these slides is a very important part of my project. I'm looking at the relationship between bees and spring flowers and spring blooming trees and shrubs. So what's really interesting is that in the spring, there's only a few things that are blooming. So if you look at the pollen under the microscope that bees are collecting, you can get a good idea of what species they are going to. And that's because pollen granules all look a little bit different. Some are spiky, some might be kind of round and bumpy, but the important thing is that they look different based on what flower they're coming from. So when you collect a bee and you make a pollen slide, like I'm doing for each bee that I collect, when you look at those slides, you can get an idea of what species those bees are visiting. No, I've never been stung once by just taking pictures of bees.
Have you been stung on other occasions?
Yes, part of my project is collecting bees with a net, and on occasion I will get stung, but I feel like that's valid since I'm catching them.
Do you have any advice for people who are kind of nervous to be around bees? I know myself, yeah. I get scared sometimes.
I think that, as I mentioned, the most important thing is that bees aren't going to be focusing on you, especially in the spring and summer where the flowers are blooming and they're really focused on collecting pollen, and they most likely will leave you alone if you don't have a net and you're trying to catch them. It's a little bit of a hard question. I feel like when I think of my favorite bee, I think of they're called brown-belted bumblebees. It's Bombus griseaculus, and they are pretty common. They're fairly common in this area, but they just look very, very fluffy and densely furred, and I can always tell it's the brown-belted bumblebee from far away just by the way that their hairs are. So I think that one's my favorite.
That's really cute. 3, 2, 1. The 20th through the 26th is Pollinator Week. Come to the Pollinator Palooza. Okay, I have to know what I'm going to say. 2, 1. The 20th through the 26th is Pollinator. Okay. The 20th through the 26th is Pollinator Week, and Green Bay is celebrating with Pollinator Palooza on June 25th. Come to the Green Bay STEM Innovation Center, Brown County STEM Innovation Center. One more time.